So within this lesson, we're going to talk a little bit about plugins, and then in upcoming lessons, we're going to talk about settings and really how to set up your website to get going with WordPress. So one of the really cool things about WordPress is the ability to add in plugins. So one of the reasons I'm kind of jumping ahead to plugins is because we had talked about backup, and there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with plugins. So by default, WordPress comes with a couple of plugins here, and this is just a spam bot protection. You have to sign up for a plan here in order to get that one going. So what you want to do is you want to add some new plugins. And so when you go to add new, you have the ability with plugins to actually download plugins. So if I wanted to go to wordpress.org, I can go through the plugin directory. I can search through all the available plugins. And as you can see, there's just a ton of plugins. Some of them are free, some of them they'll charge you, some of them if you upgrade it, they'll charge you. So it all depends. Each plugin is different. But for general, one of the plugins that I've always liked, and I think that one of the best plugins to add is Jetpack. So this gives you a whole bunch of options within WordPress, and as you can see here, it's the #1 featured one. This is by wordpress.com. So if you actually go to wordpress.com, the difference between wordpress.com and wordpress.org is that wordpress.com is actually where you can create a website on the WordPress servers. So you don't actually have to download, set it up. You can run it right on wordpress.com, and you can create a website. It's free to create a website. If you have your own domain, you can actually customize it to link out to that domain. So this is actually another way to get going with WordPress. But for me, I usually prefer to have WordPress, my own install of WordPress. That gives me more flexibility than I do have on WordPress.com. But again, if speed is what you're looking for, this is just another really good option with WordPress. So you can literally go to create a website. You can enter in using one of their subdomains. So pick one of the websites that you want to use. These are all WordPress themes. Enter in your domain. So if you do have a domain, you can get hosting with them for that price, or so you could map it to them, or you could just use the free version. So registering an account doing wordpress.com. So you could enter in your domain name there as well. So again, one of the really cool options is Jetpack. So I'm going to go ahead and install that. And I believe with Jetpack, you actually do need to create an account with wordpress.com. But again, Jetpack is going to give you a whole ton of really great options and give you a whole lot that you can do with Jetpack. Another one that I wanted to install is going to be called Backup Pup, and this is going to be a free backup WordPress plugin. And again, backing up is important. When you want to back up WordPress, everything is actually within the database. So other than the themes and customizations, but your data, your posts, and all of that important information that you definitely don't want to lose. I mean, like a theme you could always recreate if worse came to worse, but your data is what you want to focus on backing up. So periodically, if your server doesn't have the ability to do regular backups, it's always a good idea to go to phpMyAdmin and just do a quick download of your database, and then just download that and save that to your local machine. So if you just go to Go, it's going to create a backup of all this data. And as well, if you need to actually use it on another site, or if you want to try it out locally, use that same data, this is the way that you can import it and set that up. So I'm just going to go back here and see how the plugin install has gone, and from here I can activate plugins, and also I can see the plugins that are available and which ones are active. So this one now is active, and we can see here that I've got this option to go to Jetpack, and within Jetpack, they do have some really good options here. So they have some setting option here, and you can customize your features with Jetpack. And this is one of the reasons that I really do like Jetpack, because it gives you a whole bunch of stuff here right off the bat. It gives you sharing, and it gives you just some customization, the contact form, carousel. So a lot of really built-in cool features. It also gives you site stats as well, but I believe with site stats you probably have to create an account with them. And because I'm on localhost and it's detected that, it's put me in this developer mode, so I don't have the ability for some of these plugins. Some of them are grayed out. So going back to plugins, so again, there's a few different options when you want to add plugins, adding new. So you could either search through them here, or search the different plugins. So if I wanted to do my backup WPUP, I can search for that, and I can see that it shows up here. I can do a quick install, or my other option to add in plugins is to download it as a zip file and then upload the plugin right to WordPress, and it's going to accomplish the same thing. So this is all we're doing for upload. I'm not 100% sure this is going to work because I'm on localhost and I'm uploading, but we'll just see what happens. So we do have a problem here with PHP INI because of the upload size. So for localhost, you might have some things that are different, and as well depending on what your server can accommodate. So probably the best way to go if you're working on local, or if you don't have the ability to upload, and the easiest is always to just do the install this way. So this is going to install backup pop. And again, you're going to see, just like Jetpack, I'm going to have some options here in the left-hand side. And again, with Jetpack, it gave me a bunch of different options. So when I enabled it, and I have to click and activate them, Jetpack contains a whole bunch of different components, whereas Backup Pub is just going to be this one plugin. So variations of plugins as well. And we see once we enable it, we get this backup pop dashboard here. So we have the ability to set that up, where we can check the installation, create a job. We can create these automatically, download database backup. So again, the same thing as going into phpMyAdmin and downloading it, but this just gives you an easier way. And usually with WordPress, a lot of times you don't want to be jumping back and forth through different screens. You probably want to stay within the dashboard and just be able to do everything there, as well as set these jobs, because again, like doing backups manually, you tend to forget, and you tend to not perform them on a regular basis. And then if something goes wrong, if your site goes down for whatever reason, you might get hacked or something goes wrong with the site, data gets corrupted, you won't have a backup. So I always say make sure that you set up these backup jobs, and this is why one of the first things that I'm actually going through on this tutorial is setting up plugins and setting up backup, because I do feel that this is an important first step when you're setting up your WordPress install. And even though it just takes a few minutes, it is important to have this set up and running. So now you can work through this plugin, create a brand new job, run the created job, and you can have a log as well. Make sure you download that database on a regular basis as well. So this is just the one plugin, and again with WordPress, there's just so many plugins. I'm going to list out some of my favorite plugins in the resource file within this course, so you can check those out for yourself. So I don't want to go through every single plugin because that's going to be quite a bit, but it's just important to understand how to install plugins, how plugins work, and the different types of plugins that are available.